Welcome to the Sarah's podcast.
Thank you, Celios. Lovely to be with you.
Thank you. Honestly, we've been talking a long time by email, and it's great to finally sort of put a pin in this one, actually, because I think it'll be a good one. And I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the Sarah's podcast. For many that don't know, you are the publicist for the Pig Hotel Group, which comprises of 7 hotels and restaurants in New Forest, Southampton, Bath, Studland, Otter Valley, Kent, and Padstow. And not to forget, 2 more opening very soon, one in Harlem Bay and one in South Downs. In our sort of pre-talk, I was just saying how I genuinely really like the Pig hotels. I've only been to one, but I've also been to Limewood.
Limewood, yeah.
It's beautiful. I forgot about that. It's really beautiful. That outside restaurant bit, it's gorgeous.
It's lovely, yeah. That's the grown-up sister. So it's a separate hotel group. The Pig Hotels operate under a group called Homegrown Hotels, and Limewood is under the Limewood group, but they're all lovely.
It's genuinely refreshing to see a group that isn't trying to stamp every hotel the same way. And if anything is the same, it's the fact that they're all different.
Quite. Exactly, but there's that funny old, we love them all to be different. They definitely have their own individual characters because they're all in different counties who have different food specialities. And, in the Pig at Bridge Place, for example, it's in classic wine country. So that's become a big wine Pig Hotel. But at the same time, a lot of our guests actually want that feeling of pig at each one. So whilst we like them to be different, and that's what sets them apart, clients also need to know that they are in a pig. So it's a fine balance.
And the biggest news today in your business is the fact that you've reopened. Well, at least you've set a date for reopening, shall I say.
Yeah.
And you're reopening on the 4th of July and Harlem Bay on the 31st of July, all being well.
All being well, yeah. So fingers crossed. I know that reservations, we had 2 people over the lockdown in reservations. Now we've gone back up to about 10 people working 7 days a week. So they're going to be very busy today.
I thought I'd say all being well because these days everything comes with a disclaimer.
God, I know.
So, one thing again, I think, my son I was just telling you again, my son just can't wait to come back down to the Pig in Bath, and I think that's quite impressive that you get a 5-year-old, nearly 6, getting excited about a place, because when we went, we were excited as adults and, we were looking forward to it. I didn't think a child would get excited about it. And
that's the lovely thing about the pigs. When people say, who's your classic demographic, we kind of go, everyone. I mean, your 82-year-old dad can celebrate his birthday there, or your, graduating niece or nephew can celebrate their graduation age 22. It really does seem to please every single age group, which is lovely because it's a very inclusive hotel group. They don't, they want everyone to enjoy themselves there, and the staff are brilliant at making sure they do that.
So tell us a little bit about your day-to-day, because with all these sites, it sounds like a lot that you have to handle.
Yeah. It's busy, but in my world, it's always about the news story. So because I am in touch with journalists across UK broadsheets and glossies and radio and TV the whole time, they don't just want any marketing spiel. They need to know what's new, what's happening in the future. So whilst there are, it's soon to be 7 hotels all open, it'll all be busy. Arguably the busiest time for me is just before each hotel is opening. And then so that's it, about getting the journalists down to review them. And the Pig at Harlem Bay, we hope to get journalists down the week before it actually officially opens. And then they write their reviews, usually pretty much always glowing reviews, which is hugely helpful towards just pitching it at the right level and making people realize it's a lovely place to come. And then it's about keeping for example, the pig, the original pig in the New Forest, which opened in 2011, trying to identify any new stories that might crop up there and then wheeling those out. So it's about launching the new, but not forgetting the older ones. And that's really what I spend my time doing.
I think one of the things I'm pretty impressed about at the moment is that I was just having a quick look at your website this morning, and just talking about the real sustainability that's going on. That you've got your own animals on site, you've got eggs, you've got you're sort of discarding your own coffee, you're growing your own mushrooms. It's all of these things that sound pretty mundane, but they're actually 60,000 quail eggs, like. That's not a mundane, no. That's not, it's pretty impressive, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we do things in volume at the feeds because we've always been about, we don't really have, menus for people trying to lose weight. We're always about just come and enjoy yourself, have fun, eat and drink and be merry and have a great time, because it's all about indulging, but in a good way. It's all about just kicking back, throwing your shoes off if you fancy it, because there aren't really any rules in the pigs, and just getting stuck in, and everyone leaves feeling full and having eaten too much, but it's in a happy way. So yeah, that's why we need so many quail's eggs.
So what's it like, from your point of view, having one client? Because you sort of you are self-employed, but you have one client, which is the pig. So it's sort of like you sort of got a foot in both camps. How does that work?
It works really well. I mean, I've been working with Robin Hudson, our chairman, for about 10 years now, and we get on brilliantly, and we both love print media a lot. So whilst we do stuff online, we both think that the kind of slightly old-fashioned way is still really powerful and great. It's wonderful. I've had my own travel PR agency, and that was huge fun as well. But I had to look across so many clients the whole time to make sure they were all getting press coverage. And with this, I just feel I can do a really thorough job. So also all the journalists now know if they need anything to do with the pigs, they come to me. So they always know I am the account handler, which can be a problem in travel PR agencies, is that they don't really know who's looking after which hotel account at any one time. So with me, it's just a very simple line of contact between me and the journalists, me and the picture editors, and we've all, they've all got my mobile number. I'm always available, and we can turn news around very quickly because it's just slick. So it's lovely, and it does also mean I got to know the brand incredibly well, which is the luxury you have when you just look after one group. So I'll always be at one of the pigs at least once a month when we're not in lockdown, which is great. So I know the team, and that's how I unearth news stories, because I can spend more time and I can suddenly see things happening which they might not have known were news stories because they don't do what I do. But then I think, oh yeah, I can run with that. That'll be good. So and so would like to know about that. So it's very satisfying.
Yeah, I can imagine. And again, having so much to talk about, and not just for talking's sake, because it's actually being done, must make you feel sort of good that you are actually there is a greater good here. It's not just we're just saying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing your work in print is very satisfying. It also means I keep my job, because we're all about results, and PRs should be all about results. And it also, when you've got something into the paper and reservations the next day, say, gosh, we were so busy yesterday, it must have been because of that, the Sunday Times or whatever. You know that you brought in money, you've helped as a team effort to boost the bottom line, you've kept everyone in jobs. It's such a team effort, and I'm a part of that. But we're all in it together, and I talk to reservations if a big piece is about to come out, so they know if the phone's going to go crazy. Then my colleague Lottie does a lot with the database and everything online, and so we're all talking to each other the whole time.
So one of the things, PR seems to be, I always say to people, it's shrouded in mystery almost. Like, it's difficult to monitor results. Some people think advertising's better, it's faster, other different methods of marketing. PR takes a very different approach. It's slower. It takes time to build up. I liken it to rolling a heavy boulder. It needs momentum to get going. Why should every business be considering sort of like a good PR strategy?
Well, they should and they shouldn't. If they have a good story to tell, if they have a inspirational leader, which we have in Robin, if they have a product that everyone's going to want, then you must have PR, and it is, of course, a lot cheaper than advertising. Furthermore, you get the third-party endorsement element. So we have, say, Fiona Duncan from The Telegraph writing a piece for us and saying, I love the pig. She's not involved with us. She's not paid by us. She's saying that as a third-party onlooker, just saying, this is a great brand. And that's what the readers love. So it is more powerful than advertising, because advertising, you've got BA taking out an advert saying BA is great, whereas we're having journalists saying we're great. So it can take a long time, but if the right elements are in place, it won't take a long time. And some brands that don't have anything new to say and aren't necessarily particularly exciting probably shouldn't take on a PR. Because if you don't have much to say, you're going to be wasting your money.
So if you haven't got good ethics, morals, not just, I don't mean personally, of course, but as a business, if you've got nothing to sort of shout about, then don't have PR. Just avoid
I wouldn't.
it.
I wouldn't. It's quite, if you have stuff to shout about, it's quite a quick process. It's not that slow. If I was told a news story, Monday today? If I was told a news story today that was exciting, it could be on the Telegraph website tomorrow. And even as late as Thursday and Friday in the week, I could still get something into the Times and Telegraph if it's exciting news. So it can be fast, but if you don't have news and you haven't got anything in the pipeline, PR is a waste of money.
And obviously, and then I suppose the same goes if you had a good story and you chose to not have PR but have advertising instead, or a strong sort of advertising process on social media. I'd imagine that people would then think, well, yeah, it's all right, you saying it's good, and then they almost go against you a little bit, don't they?
Quite. That's it. Ambassadors and journalists journalists are more than journalists for us. They are very, very valuable. And if they've stayed in every single hotel in the land, and if they think we're good, well, the reader probably believes what they're saying. So it's a really, really valuable relationship. And I adore all the journalists I work with. They're brilliant. But they also have to trust that we will deliver. We won't let their readers down. We'll tell the truth. We'll, never say something's open if it's not. And so there's a lot of trust in both directions.
With everything going off at the moment, COVID, etc. Early on, what was your PR strategy around that? What was it to sort of try and remain positive? Obviously there was a lot of uncertainty. To give us a little bit about your thought process behind that?
There wasn't much time to put together a strategy, but interestingly, Robin, and absolutely rightly, he said, look, I don't want to just panic and put out news stories like others quickly, suddenly doing a cooking demo from the head chef's kitchen. He said, let's sit back and think about this. And we did. And the stories in lockdown have been wonderful to run with. And the first little one we went out with was a pig playlist, which were songs put together by our music creator, which were really good fun, and that got a bit of traction. But then the leftover veg from the kitchen garden at the pig at Bridge Place went to people in the local community, so elderly people and people who work for the NHS and carers. But then we had surplus veg that was going off, and we took it to some gorillas that were at Wildlife Park in Kent. And the veg was fed to these gorillas, which will be reintroduced into the wild in Africa in the coming months. And, that sort of thing is just, you can't plan that. We didn't know that was going to happen. And that was great. And then we gave 190 room nights to the NHS for the first night of opening. So on the 4th of July, NHS and carers will be staying across every single pig hotel. So that, again, was an amazing story to work with. And more recently, our chairman has written a letter to Boris Johnson campaigning for hotels to reopen with 1 metre social distancing, not 2 metres, which is such a game changer. It means we operate at 70% occupancy rather than 30% occupancy. So we actually break even when we open our doors rather than go backwards. So incredibly, even though all the hotels are shut, we, between the small team that wasn't furloughed, we found some really positive stories to tell to the press. And it's always been, there's enough negativity going on everywhere else in the travel pages. We just need positive. So it's too much doom and gloom elsewhere. And we've been given these great gifts of stories to run with.
Do you envisage this year, especially, maybe a little bit of next year, do you envisage a lot more sort of staycations, more British people staying in the UK for holidays?
Absolutely. I mean, we are very lucky being a UK hotel group, and we will follow all the government guidelines and make sure that all of our guests are safe and rooms are being, hugely cleaned, and we're getting extra staff on to fulfill that. But it's going to be all about the UK this year, and pigs will be enjoyed by everyone. Even if people can get abroad, it seems like an almighty hassle at the moment, and I don't think they will be bothered. I think they'll plan a really fab trip for next year. But this year, I can't see our hotels being empty at all, and that's brilliant. We just can't take as many bookings as we would like to because of the social distancing. But other than that, we look forward to giving everyone a very warm welcome.
And so going back to sort of PR for a minute, one of the things that I sort of touched on earlier, that PR does seem quite scary to people. And so you've got two sort of camps. You've got people that do it themselves and maybe do a good job and maybe don't. And then you've got some people that would get someone else to do it on a monthly retainer, let's say. How would you, if you was doing it yourself, what tips would you give someone? And if you was going to get someone else to do it, how would you evaluate how good they are?
Brilliant questions. If you're doing it yourself, so say you're a hotel group and you want to give a bash at it yourself, buy the weekend newspapers. There is nothing that journalists find more irritating than someone emailing them about a story that's just not relevant for them. So, you generally have your hotel experts, and you generally have your travel experts, and you have your restaurant experts. So buy the weekend papers, see who's writing what, and email them send them some really friendly information and make sure it's newsworthy. So you can do it yourself, but take a voracious interest in it. Don't read the papers in January and then read them again in June. Read them every single weekend, because you'll build a picture about what these journalists like to read about. And you can email them going, "Oh, I loved your piece on the hotel in Lincolnshire at the weekend. We've got something in Staffordshire. Would you think of going to a county that's not in the southwest?" It's not that hard. Also, journalists are lovely. They want your information, but just send them relevant stuff. And then if you're getting someone else to do it, and if I were enlisting the help of a PR company now, all I would ask of them for is their press coverage for another hotel they've represented over the past 3 months. It is the easiest way to tell whether they are effective. And if they hand you a wad of press coverage and say this is past 3 months, take them on immediately. They obviously know the journalists and they know their stuff. If they just send you press reports but with no coverage, don't take them on, because, okay, they may not have had a strong story, but you can always probably find a story somehow if you try hard enough. So I'd never go for a fully fledged pitch. I'd just say, all I want to see is your press coverage from the past 3 months. And some of them will fumble and some of them will show it to you proudly, and you go with the latter.
That makes complete sense. And again, it gets for all the sales patter, doesn't it? Because if they haven't got any sort of anything to show you, then they're no good, are they?
Quite. That's it.
Yeah. Very interesting. So PR is one thing, then you've got crisis management.
And, hate that.
So, and I was thinking about this, and I could, COVID is a crisis, whatever you say, and you've told me how you've turned it on its head and made the best out of a very sort of, sad situation, let's say, or a shocking situation. Unprecedented for definite, the most overused word this year. What is it that you've learned? How have you learned over the years to deal with crisis management? I take it this isn't the first time.
No. Even if the journalist is hounding at your door, you don't have to answer immediately. So I've learned over the years, take a deep breath. And if it's a really sticky situation, which luckily, touch wood, we've never had yet at the pigs, but you can have 24 hours to get back to them. And I've learned, just so that I know what to do if something bad did happen, say the Daily Mail's got in contact, and you go, okay, I'll find out the answers, giving the questions you have that you want to put to them. So they give you 10 questions. you only need to go back with 5 answers, and they can be quite benign and not lead them anywhere. Also, it's fine not to comment. And really, with crisis management, less is more. If they don't have anything to go on, you're not going to help them fill their column inches. And so I tend to sit back, and we tend to give them a very benign paragraph, and we're sorting out the situation behind the scenes, and that's all really that anyone needs to know, because there was a burglary at Limewood about 6 months ago, and a lot of very valuable wine was stolen. It got into the press in a small way, but we had to sort out the actual issue. We had to sort out who'd got in. We then had to increase security, blah, blah, blah. And the last thing you actually need is the newspapers to get involved, because we were busy trying to iron out this really upsetting and distressing situation. So you just want to go, we're on it. Thank you for your concern. And you want to close the story as quickly as possible.
I suppose something like the burglary, for example, is a double-edged sword, because it's nice that they want to know and give you some positive coverage out of it, let's say. But at the same time, there is a pressing concern to deal with people that may feel upset or aggrieved or scared. Quite. So you sort of like, you've always got to say, look, give us 24 hours. We need to fix this and we'll come back. Yeah.
We'd rather there was no publicity at those times, because you've got to, your priority is the team. You want to make sure no one's distressed, and the guests. You want to make sure they know that they are sleeping easy at night in the hotel. So we upped the security massively, and they were our priority then. And we only really want the positive coverage. We don't really comment. If there were any negative coverage, we'd rather not know about it. So we just try and manage that, though we have been very lucky. We haven't had many bad moments.
So crisis with media is one thing, or news media, let's say, but social media is a different thing, because that takes on a completely different virality. And you could be wrong, or you could be right. And if people feel like you're wrong, they're going to go after you regardless. Would you still take the same approach? Would you say still take 24 hours to think about this? I'll give you an example. You wouldn't know about this, but a friend of mine sends me a link on Twitter the other day. A young girl works for a fish and chip business we know. And she puts on Twitter, I've just left my job. The owner was racist, using her word. The owner was racist about the Black Lives Matter situation. He was racist. I've left my job. Literally within 2 days, she's got nearly 800,000 likes, 60,000 retweets. The chap goes on his Facebook page and puts like a retort a few hours in. And again, it was just a barrage of boom, 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 boom. And I'm not taking a side here. I'm not saying one guy's right, the girl's wrong or anything. But this whole thing has now played out online. Would you have said to that guy, if he was your client, don't say anything, like keep your head down, or would you just say, look, you've got to issue an apology? And what he did do, this chap, he put a bit of a non-apology. These so it's the worst type of apology.
Non-apologies.
Yeah, he put, I'm sorry you misunderstood my statements. Yeah, which is, again, it's rubbing salt in the wounds, in my view. He should have just gone out there and said, this was my view. I'm really sorry. I am really sorry. Like nothing else. Or he should have said nothing. That would have been my advice personally. But how do you deal with that virality? Can you ever build a business back after that?
I like to think that would never happen at the Pigs anyway. But if that were to happen, if I was giving someone else advice, I would say, try and do things offline. I mean, I would be ringing that poor girl very quickly going, I am sorry, I've behaved like an idiot. And have a conversation, because it's not a conversation when it's on social media. It's a barrage, but that non-apology is utterly unforgivable. But if I were giving someone else that I'd try and take it offline quickly. I would speak to them. I would say sorry. Not publicly, I'd say sorry privately, and then she would simmer. And we all make stupid mistakes, but I think it's also whether she wants all of that hassle. She's distressed. This is a horrible thing to have happened to her, but and I like the momentum she's caused, because it's so important to crush this. Anyone being remotely racist is just utterly ridiculous.
And so far as I can tell, a lot of comments are saying to her name and shame, and she hasn't. And I think for me as an outsider, I feel like she's been measured. I feel, only people that know this girl would know where she worked. If I didn't know
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known. I would
Right.
not have known. Yeah.
So he's behaved. I mean, he's made the problem for himself. He didn't need
I'd
to.
imagine so. Yeah.
She could have said, "My old boss has just apologized to me. Thank you. This is over." Whereas he's made the situation worse. And it's all about keeping the situation calm and not upsetting people and properly apologizing. A lot of people are very bad at saying sorry.
No, you're so right. And look, we've all made a mistake, and we're all probably going to make mistakes again. But it's how you come out of those mistakes, isn't it? And I, a friend of mine who also sent me the same link saying, "Oh my God, look at this," because our industry is quite small, the fish and chip industry within the hospitality industry. I just said we can all learn from this. We can all learn, but not by mocking. It's by really absorbing what just happened. And he might have just been having a normal conversation between him and this young girl, and it got a bit, I'm right, you're wrong, a bit of a generational thing. And then next thing you know, it's escalated. And I don't know how you feel about this, but when I was growing up in the business, my dad always said to me, there's two things we don't talk about in the shops: politics and religion. And I wonder, does that still apply today? Like, is that advice that, I don't know.
I think we're all talking about politics now. We've been forced to. But yeah, I think there are some things that are easier to avoid. And I also think, take when you're going to a pig hotel, you just want to go and escape from these stresses and hassles of daily life and just kick back. And I would have thought if there's anywhere where people lose the sort of politics and religion and money chat is when they're just having fun. And that's all we would ever want people to do at the pigs is have fun. It's escapism, it's time out, and it's time to relax and have a happy time.
Moving away from crises,
if we could.
How much time and money should a business set aside for PR, do you think? I know money is probably not as easy to apply, but time? Should someone say, I'm spending an hour a week just focusing on certain things?
It depends on your job, but I have to be available 24/7. I mean, I'll get a call on a Saturday morning from the papers about something. If you really love what you do, which I do, I want to spend the whole time doing it. I mean, I'm with journalists or at my laptop or on the phone, whenever I need to be, the whole time. It's not really, if you want to do it properly, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And where I think some marketing teams get it wrong is they say, oh, we're doing marketing and PR, and then you'll say, oh, how much PR? They go, oh, we send out a press release once a month. You're like, you're not engaging with journalists then, you're not building those precious fun relationships, and they're not going to remember you when things start to run. So we are being completely remembered by all the broadsheets now, with positive stories coming out next weekend, the weekend after, because we've stayed current. I've been in touch with my journalists the whole time in lockdown. We've all checked in, seeing everyone's good and okay. So for me, it's just the most gratifying, exciting full-time job I could possibly have. So I don't think an hour a week is anything like enough if you've got lots of things to say.
I suppose, and you also, if you was to scale this down to a small business, like a micro business, it's the same thing. Just keep in touch with your journalists, whether it's the local paper, just tweet them, Instagram them, get them involved. And I think one of the things I hear a lot from my business point of view, from my customers, is the local news just doesn't care. And I'll say to them, do you talk to them? Do you invite them to come round? Do you ever say, look, next time you're in the area, just pop your head in this, we'll have a chat. And I think everyone sees them as this, it's a bit scary. They're a media company or a newspaper. They don't want to know. So I feel that what you're saying is it's that engaging is the key word here, that if you can keep them interested, because they're going to keep coming to you. And if they know they're going to come to you for a word on something or advice or an opinion, if you always make yourself available to them, they're going to keep coming to you, aren't they?
Of course, because then their story can can run quicker. I mean, if I get a call today from a journalist, I will have the information with them probably within half an hour. And then it means they can get on with their job, they can file their copy, they can and with Robin as well, who's, busy managing this brilliant group, he will always ring me back immediately if I've rung him, because he knows the urgency of press. And if we can help people file their copy quickly, they're always going to come to us. So that's it. If you say I'll get back to you in 4 days, sorry, mate, I'm going to go to someone who's going to get back to me sooner.
One example that I bring to mind, a few years ago, we sponsored a media training day for fish and chip shops, and they were talking about the example of how BBC local radio rang up a shop and said, "Hi, can we get you on drive time?" And he goes, "No, I'm too busy." And he and I get his point. He was justifying it from the point of saying, "I was busy, so they should wait." But the flip side to that is they're never going to ring you again. No. You didn't get onto a prime time slot, which, hey, drive time, on a Friday night, and this was a fish and chip restaurant. So, and I said to him, the counter argument could have been, can you give me 3 minutes? I just need to fix myself and call me back. And he was like, yeah, but I was busy. And I was like, but then you then say, oh, I can never get onto the local radio station.
I know. So, no, you've got to make time. If you want that press coverage, which is so valuable, there's got to be a priority.
But what I like about what you're saying is that it works from top down. It works in small businesses all the way up to larger businesses. And I think no one can say, oh, that won't work for me because I'm small.
No. They love the small businesses because they've often got really lovely, interesting stories to tell. But I think that often people look at articles in the newspaper or listen to the radio, go, "Oh, we should have been in there." And I'll say to them, "But did you tell them about you?" And they go, "No, we haven't told them." I was like, "Well, how are they going to find out about you?" So it's they mustn't. Journalists won't bite your head off. They're humans like the rest of us.
And you can't assume that a journalist or whoever knows everything about anything. You just can't. So I think if don't be frightened. Like, one key takeaway, because we put up 5 points on how to get local PR, and I think one of the points was engage, and just don't feel like they should come to you. Tell them they should come to you. Give them a reason.
Offering them free fish and chips will always work, but engage and nurture those relationships once you have engaged with them.
And like you said, it goes back to what you said earlier as well. Have something to talk about, a great story.
Yeah,
honestly, you guys are so lucky. I think that, well, obviously it's all bought and paid for, but it is so lucky to have such a great business, in my view. I think, you can see it with you as well. You seem genuinely happy. You're smiling. You enjoy talking about the pig, and it's not just a job, let's say, and I'm sure it is. Obviously, it's a job for everybody, but it's more than that. You can tell.
It's like a big family. It's like we all just love it. We've missed it so much. We've all missed each other so much, and it doesn't feel like a job. It's that much fun. But and it's hard work, but we all work really hard. Probably the hardest working of the lot is our chairman. So it's not. It does. But when it's something you love so much, it doesn't feel like hard work.
One more question before we move on is it difficult trying to get a story out with this COVID cloud? Because obviously the other day there was the Black Lives Matters. There's a lot going off in the media at the moment. Yeah. Is it difficult to get a story out there?
Not in the travel pages, because they're just desperate to give people good news. So I largely target the travel pages rather than the news pages. No, it's easy because we're telling positive stories. If we were telling doom and gloom stories, they might choose to ignore us because we don't need any more doom and gloom. But and also I've worked with them all for so long. They know that if I'm ringing them or emailing them, it's probably because I've got something to say. So I don't tend to waste their time unless I have something to say. And we've been working for so many years together. They know that.
Fantastic. So just to remind listeners, the pigs are reopening on the 4th of July and the Harlem Bay one on the 31st. When is South Downs opening?
Summer next year.
Okay, which doesn't seem that far away.
It doesn't. And for the first time, we've planted our own vineyard there, so we'll be creating our own pig wine. First time Robin Hudson in all his career has planted a vineyard, so that's exciting.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more about. Well, tell us a little bit, because we've not mentioned it at all. Smoked and Uncut. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, they're the 3 festivals we have every summer. We had to cancel them this year. One at the Pig, one at Limewood, and one at the Pig near Bath. Pig near Bath and Limewood, we also have glamping in gorgeous bell tents, and that's really fun. We have Angela Hartnett there cooking, Mark Hicks cooking, Mitch Tonks cooking, and then the bands we had last year were Sister Sledge at Limewood, Kaiser Chiefs at the Pig No Bath, and the vaccines at the Pig. So we get some stellar bands, and it's from midday till about 9 each night. Really good laugh. Mini Glastonbury, Limewood was just, we had great weather, and they're really fun. Sort of 4,000 people, which is a brilliant size. So you feel you're like you're at a festival, but without all the hassles of being at a massive festival. And it's kind of, all the Pig staff want to come and work at them, and it's a brilliant day out for everyone. And I can't recommend them more highly.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. Again, I suppose it's part of building more than just a customer base. It's making family, friends, making everybody love the Pig, and obviously when it's as stellar as what you sounds, and why not?
Yeah, quite. Yeah, it's great, and it's much more interesting than the kind of days gone by where hotels trying to fill a Sunday night slot. It was, a wine and cheese tasting evening. It was a bit boring and dry, and we just thought, well, Rob and our chairman just thought, we don't want boring or dry. So it's just grown from being, a band on a Sunday night doing a gig in the hotel to a great big festival, which is fab.
I suppose in some ways, those other things, those other little events, like, a cheese night, wouldn't really work for the Pig anyway, because you probably do all of those things daily. You're buying all your food locally. It's all good quality. Yeah. It's all British, 25 miles away, or home, or even grown on site. It's like if you're doing that every day, then why would you celebrate it again once a month, let's say?
Exactly that. And also we're in such a lucky position, whereas Sunday nights are usually pretty full because the Pig just operates at such high occupancy, north of 90% at each Pig. So there's a party atmosphere anyway. So we've just kept the brand alive and fun by having these festivals.
Well, Emma, I think our time has come, and I know you have plenty to do, especially with reopening, or at least setting a reopening date. I bet everyone's computers are buzzing away today, aren't they?
I think so. It's a busy day.
I absolutely cannot wait to meet you once all this is over and done with.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. It's been really fun.